What's a story from your life so outrageous you wouldn't believe it if someone else was telling it? I once accidentally went through the USA-Canada border trying to go to Walmart. I couldn't do a U-turn once I was on the road for it, and I had blindly followed my GPS to go to the closest Walmart that I didn't realize was in Canada. I live close to the border. They searched my car and I had 4 phones due to my internet job and also a baggie full of melatonin pills. I was in between moving to a new apartment and I needed to bring the melatonin, but I lost the cap to the container, so I poured the pills into a baggie. My internet job involved posting affiliate links to campsites to different Snapchat accounts at the time, hence the 4 phones. I spent 4 hours at the Canadian border office in an interrogation room trying to convince them I wasn't a crazy drug dealer. LMFAO. I met my wife at her wedding reception. Also, back in college I wrote a short story and threw a fictitious phone number in for a good time call line. Based it on some friends' room numbers. Fast forward 6 years and I'm filling out a job app and they have the same phone number. I've worked for them 23 years now. I've had a fire alarm go off whilst in an MRI, then a CT scan machine, and then on a radiotherapy treatment table. All of them require you to be inside the machine strapped in. All took place in different hospitals and it was over the course of a year. I had a class with 2 people in it who were both named Unique, but each was spelled a different way, so I guess they were still technically correct. I think I've told this story before, but here goes. I was a sophomore in high school and my mom worked at a hospital as head of security. They run drills to test each system, including infant abduction drills. So mom brought me in and I had to go into a room and steal a fake baby. I shoved it in a Lowe's bag and ran to the stairs and made it out. One of the nurses threw a shoe at my head. I randomly met the dude that I was born with. Our mothers gave birth to us in the same hospital on the same day and shared a recovery room. 25 years later, on the other side of the country, he was dating my roommate. I have a small scar on my neck from a burn mark that I sustained from slipping in my kitchen while carrying a hot plate of food. What was the food that left that scar? Beans. Got kicked out of jail for fighting. Actually, I was a news photographer back in the 80s, covering a story in the local jail. Another photog was there that I didn't get along with. I was young and probably high. What can I say? He didn't like me either. Words were exchanged. Then elbows. That's how we fought back then when carrying TV cameras. And the ruckus got progressively louder. Finally, the sheriff said, "You boys got to take it outside. You upsetting the inmates." True story. I walk with a cane now and have tried my best to be a better person. Back when I was still studying and didn't have any significant cash, I was driving back from my at the time GF's place one night to my folks' house. My fuel ran out just as I approached a bit of an extended decline in the road, which leads to a sharp left turn that turns into a slightly longer incline up to my parents' house. The 2 sections of road are about equal in length, total of about 500 meters, or 0.3 miles, with a traffic light in the middle at the bottom of the decline. Fortunately, they were green for me when I went through them. Thing is just that my fuel ran out shortly before the decline started and I started coasting right as I reached it, down to and through the traffic light, immediately into a sharp left turn, which I slowed down for, and then up all the way to my folks' place. The decline isn't that steep and the incline is a little steeper than the decline. So by all accounts, taking the sharp turn into consideration, I should have lost momentum straight after turning up into my parents' street and come to a standstill. But I didn't. Still have no idea how that worked. But it happened. Turned out one of my classmates who we all thought was a 15-year-old girl was actually a 30-year-old woman. My dad once shook the tree in our garden and a whole-ass trout fell out of it. To this day I wonder where it came from. I assume a bird dropped it. There aren't any big bodies of water nearby though. Maybe the neighbors chucked it out of a window? I was staying over at a friend's house when I was 16. It was pretty late and we were in her room watching a movie when all of the sudden we saw headlights coming at her window really quickly, like it was about to hit the house. We both screamed and jumped out of the bed. Then, nothing. We ran to look out the window, but no cars were in the driveway besides her mom's. Their driveway was long and their house was pretty far off the road and isolated. So if someone was turning around we would have seen them. Shortly after that the phone rang. It was the police calling to tell her mom that her dad had drunkenly crashed into someone's house. Everyone was okay. Luckily, we told her mom what we experienced but she didn't believe us. No one we told did, so we just decided from then on to keep it to ourselves. We still talk about it once in a while 23 years later. It is one of the weirdest experiences I've had to date. I was bow hunting out on my property one fall evening, when a pack of cats ran by me. Not a small pack, mind you. There were so many I couldn't even count them, but if I were to ballpark guess, I would say 25-ish. I sat there in disbelief for several minutes, because I have never seen a cat on my property. It still boggles my mind when I think about it. I put my dog down a couple years ago and fell into a deep depression, drinking and smoking weed every day for months. One day I called up an old friend and we talked about our dog's passing and how it made us feel. I made an analogy along the lines of, I just feel empty. I could be walking down the street, find a $5 bill and just keep walking. Later on that night I found a $5 bill on the street. I took it as a message from my dog. Yes, it sounds silly, but the emotions I felt that night were unlike anything I've ever felt before or since. There were acres of forest behind my GFS family farm and we were driving a golf cart along the path beside it. All of a sudden a 12-point buck crashed out of the woods right beside us and just ran alongside us for a good 100 meters or so before disappearing back into the forest. It was the most majestic and surreal thing I've ever been a part of. My husband, my daughter and I saw a UFO hovering over I-10 in the Florida Panhandle. We pulled over so we could watch it. It stayed hovering around 10 minutes and we could see its shadow on the ground in the moonlight. Then it slowly moved backwards away from us, then took off away at an odd angle. It was completely silent. No one ever believed any of us. I was in the shower and had soap on my feet. I slipped on a curve in the tub and went right through a glass shower screen but didn't smash it, and when I was lying on the ground wondering what the hell had happened, I nearly had the glass screen fall on top of me. My dad comes up to see what the hell's going on and sees me standing there bollock naked and wrestling his shower screen. The outrageous one-month fiasco that involved me crashing a dog scooter into a pond, being hit in the face with a frozen lime and getting a black eye, my husband getting an AirPod stuck up his nose, our trip to the hospital and the nurse calling the police on him for domestic abuse allegations because I had a black eye and was covered in bruises. We found a human finger in front of a dingo den at Uluru about 2 weeks before the Lindy Chamberlain case came to trial. Storytime: me and my buddy were blowing off steam at the batting cages because y'all know violence is illegal. Let me paint the picture for you though. Buddy was 6 feet 5 inches and a powerlifter. Stacked and always stuck out because of him being a blonde Nordic man. Anywho, we hit the fast pitch and switched to slow pitch, and we're using a house bat for that. He loaded up and took a swing. All I heard was metal bouncing against the concrete. I look at him, he looks at me with the handle still in his hands. He split that bat right above the grips. I have never seen an aluminum bat do that ever in my life. No one ever believes us when we tell this story, but it happened.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Eracast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.